Welcome to the second lecture of Analog and Digital Communication. I am Balwant Makwana. So today's topic is sampling theorem and pulse modulation. So we'll discuss mainly about sampling theorem right now. So as we know that there are two types of a signal, continuous time signal and a discrete time signal. So due to some recent advanced development in the digital technology, the expensive, lightweight, programmable and easily reproducible discrete time systems are available. Therefore, the processing of discrete time signals is more flexible than the you can say the continuous time signal. So this means we have to convert our continuous time signal into discrete one. Once we convert our continuous time signal into discrete time signal, then we can do digitization of the signal. So first step toward digitization is converting the continuous time signal into discrete signal. Now the problem is how we'll achieve this discretization, how we'll do the discretization of a continuous signal. So this problem is solved by this fundamental mathematical tool known as the sampling theorem. The sampling theorem is extremely important and useful signal processing tool. With the help of sampling theorem, a continuous time signal may be completely represented and recovered by the knowledge of the samples taken uniformly. So we'll see what exactly is sampling theorem. So the first process in converting the continuous time signal to digital signal is sampling. So we'll convert the continuous time signal into discrete signal first, and the sampling is the tool, or sampling is the mathematical process we have to do with our continuous signal. So actually sampling, you can see here, this is B.P. Lathi, the 6th chapter of B.P. Lathi book. You can see here the sampling theorem is defined as, we know that a signal GT will take, our information signal is GT, whose spectrum is band limited. I have described this in a red color. This is band limited signal to beta hertz. The spectrum of the signal GT is band limited to beta hertz. So its Fourier transform, the signal GT's Fourier transform will be GF. So signal is band limited to beta hertz means it does not have frequency content above beta hertz. So if frequency is greater than beta or B, then this spectrum should be 0. So for a signal whose spectrum is band limited to beta B hertz, that can be reconstructed exactly from its discrete time sample taken uniformly at R sample per second. So there are two conditions. First is we have to take a sample, we have to discretize our signal, so the sampling rate must be greater than R sample per second. So it must be greater than twice the bandwidth. So the condition is the sampling rate R should be greater than twice the bandwidth of the signal. In other words, the minimum sampling frequency for a perfect signal recovery is twice the bandwidth, that is Fs is equal to 2B hertz. That is, Fs is now our sampling frequency. So sampling frequency must be greater than or equal to twice the maximum frequency content of our signal. So in our university exam, there will always be a question, define sampling theorem and prove it. So for the definition or the statement of the theorem, this is a signal GT whose spectrum is band limited to beta hertz or B hertz can be reconstructed exactly from its discrete time sample taken uniformly at R sample per second. You have to write this. Now moving ahead, we want to prove this theorem, or two things you can see from here, simply first one is a band limited signal of a finite energy which has no frequency component higher than FM Hertz, or which does not have the frequency component higher than Fs Hertz, is completely described by a sample value at uniform interval less than 1 upon 2 FM second. So if we are talking in time domain, so sampling period will be 1 upon 2 FM, or in terms of a frequency, a band limited signal. So once again I am saying the signal is band limited. Why I am saying this, we will see later. So a band limited signal of a finite energy which has no frequency component higher than FM Hertz, it can be completely recovered from the knowledge of its samples taken at a rate twice the FM samples per second. So let's prove this. Let us take, we are having this is our information signal GT, that is this one, figure A 6.1.A. This signal is our information signal. So GT is our information signal in a time domain. So if we take a Fourier transform of this signal, then it will be, let us take, this will be the Fourier transform. So GT is now converted into the Fourier transform, that is GF. So now this signal is band limited. We have pre-assumed that the signal is band limited. So you can see it, the spectrum, the frequency spectrum of this signal is band limited to 2 pi b. So this is 2 pi b minus 2 pi b to 2 pi b. You can see this. So this is 2 pi b. This is band limited to 2 pi b. So this bandwidth is this side, this is b, this is b. So when a signal limited to b whose frequency content is less than b, then its spectrum is from minus b to plus b, so it will be 2b. So if our spectrum, or if our signal is band limited to 2b, band limited to b, then we must have take the sample such a way that it should be, the sample should be at the twice of maximum frequency. So how to take sample? First thing is, this is our continuous signal and we want to make it discrete one, so we have to take a sample. So the sample can be taken, you can see here we are having a impulse train. This is impulse is described as a signal which is occurring at t is equal to 0. So it will occur at t is equal to 0. At that time only, wherever it will occur, it will have only amplitude at that location. So what we'll do is, we'll multiply these two signals. This is our GT, that is our information signal, and this is our impulse train. We'll take a sample at each and every instant where this impulse are located. So let us take, this is t is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll take sample at t is equal to 0, sample of this information signal at t is equal to 0. So when we multiply these two signals, that is our information signal and impulse train, at each and every location the impulse will retain the maximum amplitude. So GT into delta TS will be equal to delta T0 or G0 at t is equal to this instant. Whatever the amplitude, it will retain the amplitude. So let us take this amplitude when the signal is multiplied with impulse at this location. So it will have a amplitude equal to this one. Whatever the amplitude of your information signal, that information or that amplitude will be retained at the discrete level. So you can see the discretized signal will look like this. So this will be our discretized signal. Once we have done, we have multiplied these two signal, that is in a time when we have multiplied information signal and this impulse train whose sampling time is equal to Ts, where Ts is 1 upon twice Fs. that is the sampling frequency should be greater than twice the maximum frequency in the signal. So this sampling frequency is equal to twice the maximum frequency, or in terms of at time it will be equal to 1 upon 2 FM, where FM is the signal, the maximum signal present in the information signal. So this will be now our discretized signal. This is not an digital signal. We have converted our continuous time signal into discrete time signal. This will take, if we will have this information, this impulse train located close to each other, whose time period is large, or you can say the frequency is higher, so these impulses will be close to each other, so we'll have a more number of sample, and you can say that it will take many value, infinitely many value, depending upon number of sample will take. So since digital signal is the signal whose amplitude is between, either it will be 0 or 1, now this will take many discrete amplitudes, so we cannot say this will be a digital signal. This is simply a discrete signal. Now what happens in frequency domain is, you can see this is the spectra, that is frequency spectra of this information signal. So this is our GF, which is band limited to B. So overall bandwidth is 2B. Now when we multiply these two signal, that is GT and delta TS, where this is our impulse train. So what will happen is, now our spectra, this spectra will repeat at each and every Fs. Whatever the sampling rate, that is 1 upon Ts, this spectra will repeat it after each Fs. How it will happen? We'll see mathematically. So GT is our original signal. We have sampled this, you can see this, we have taken sample, so the sample version is G bar T, that is multiplication of GT into delta Ts. So that will be, now we are having n sample, so we will take summation of all the sample, so summation of n sample is G n Ts, so this will be equal to, n is equal to some time period, so n Ts delta T minus NTS, because this impulse is shifted in NTS. So now we know that the frequency spectra, or you can say the Fourier transform of this impulse train, you can see the impulse train, the Fourier transform or exponential Fourier series of impulse train is given by this. There is delta Ts, T is equal to 1 upon Ts, summation from minus infinity to infinity, e raised to j n omega st. So this will be the summation of all the impulses. So the impulses, it will be, n is from minus infinity to infinity. So this will be the exponential Fourier series of this impulse train. Now, so when we multiply these two signal, so simply we are multiplying this GT with this we are discussing in frequency domain. So we are multiplying this in time domain, so in frequency domain, so this is the multiplication, and this GT bar is equal to GT into delta Ts. So this GT will goes here, will multiply with GT, so it will be GT time e raised to j 2 pi fs, omega is equal to 2 pi fs t. Now to find, now we'll take this is in time domain, so we'll convert this into frequency domain by using Fourier transform. So GT will become now GF or G omega, and this will be our impulse, e raised to j 2 pi f will be our impulse, and this impulse will be repeated. So this will be G bar f will be 1 upon Ts, summation of n is equal to minus infinity to infinity from f minus nTs. How it will become? So this will be the repetition of the spectra at the sampling frequency. How it will become? So if we simplify this, then this will be this sampling train, or you can say this impulse train will be equal to, wait for a minute, so in terms of a, let us take, this is our impulse train. I think it is not visible. So this delta t, it is in terms of a Fourier series. We can write this as a 1 upon Ts, where Ts is the sample time, and write 1 upon Ts 1 plus 2 cos omega st plus 2 cos 2 omega st plus 2 cos 3 omega st and so on. So what does this tell? We are having this delta t, that is impulse train. This is in time domain. Now we multiply, this is the time domain representation of this impulse train. Now we are multiplying this signal with gt. We are doing gt into, so we are doing, not visible, so gt bar, that will be equal to multiplication of delta t into our signal gt. We are multiplying this two. Now this will result, this delta t is this one, and this is multiplied by gt. So this will become 1 upon ts, 1 into gt will be gt plus 2 g into t cos omega st plus 2 g into t cos 2 omega st plus up to infinity. So you can see that we are having the information signal itself, that is gt, and now it is multiplied by, the gt is multiplied with the sinusoidal component. Right now it is a cos omega st, where omega s represent, omega is 2 pi fs, where fs is our sampling frequency. So gt cos omega st multiply, gt multiplied by cos omega st plus 2 gt plus, this will be 2 cos omega st plus 2 gt plus 3 omega st and so on. Now this is our signal gt, this is multiplied by cos omega st. We can say that, let me write one more thing. So we know that this is our periodic, this is our band limited signal gt. So we have seen this is having, this is like this one, this is our gt. Now when we when we multiply this is a sinusoidal signal, it will consist of a sine and cos term. So when, let us say this will be simply a cos theta over cos omega mt. Assume that this will be a cosine function, cos omega mt. Now instead of gt, we will write, this will be cos omega mt, this will be cos omega mt into cos omega st, then cos omega mt into cos 2 cos omega st and so on. So what does this represent? We are having cos into cos term, or simply we are having a multiplication of two sinusoid terms, either cos or sine, whatever will be there. Now we know that when we multiply either cos or sine, or cos or cos, or sine or cos, then the summation of frequency will take place. Here our frequency is omega m, gm, this gt will have frequency omega mt, that is our modulation frequency, or you can say this will be our information signal frequency, that will be omega m, and omega is our sampling frequency. So when we multiply this, that is cos omega st into cos omega mt, what will happen? It will, whatever the signal, it will remain as it is and it will repeat, that is it will be omega m plus omega s, and in this side we are having a omega s minus omega m, and this will be as it is, that will be omega m. So signal repetition will take place, and now we are having all the components. We are having cos omega st, then we are having 2 cos omega st, 3 omega st, 4 omega st. So the repetition of this pulse or this sample will takes place. Whatever we have seen, so this will takes place when we will take a frequency domain. The repetition of the pulse will takes place. Now because of this repetition, what will happen is, so we will get this repeated spectrum in our, this represent the sampled version or a discrete version of a signal. This is our signal. We have done discretization, and this will be the discretized, this is the sample version of a discretized signal in a frequency domain. So this figure tells, so you can see that when we sample this, we are having a repetition of our band. Whatever the band will have, there will be a repetition, and the repetition will be centered around the sampling frequency. So this is our BS. So the next sample will be at Fs, that is twice the maximum frequency. So this will be our Fs, then this will be 2Fs, 3Fs, and so on. This is same as this is explained using exponential Fourier series, and we have done using simple Fourier series. So when we will multiply this, we will have a repetition of our signal or repetition of our spectrum, which is denoted by this. There is G bar F, that is the spectrum of sampled signal or spectrum of a discrete signal will be equal to the repetition of a spectrum at each and every Fs. So the spectrum GF consists of the original signal GF, which is scaled by 1 upon Ts. The original signal is scaled by 1 upon Ts. You can see that the amplitude here is 1 upon A upon Ts, and the original amplitude is A. So the sample signal will consist of the original signal GF, which is scaled by 1 upon Ts, and which is repeating periodically with period is equal to Fs. When Fs is equal to, we know F is equal to 1 upon T. So it repeat with period Fs is equal to 1 upon Ts hertz. So this is called uniform sampling, because we are taking sample at uniform interval. Hence it will generate a signal of samples. Now the question is, once we have taken the sample and we have transmitted the sample value, whether we are able to reconstruct the signal from the sample version or not. So if we will take the sampling frequency greater than or equal to twice the maximum frequency, we are able to reconstruct the signal with some distortion. So graphically we can say that if Fs is greater than twice beta, that is the sampling frequency is greater than twice the maximum frequency of the signal, and you can say in terms of a time period, when Ts is less than 1 upon 2b, then will, as long as these two conditions are satisfied, we are able to recover our signal, or we are able to reconstruct our signal faithfully. So the minimum sampling rate, that will be equal to 2b. It should be either equal to or greater than or equal to 2b. That is the requirement. If the sampling rate is greater than equal to, so the minimum sampling rate will be, Fs will be equal to 2b. It must be greater than this. Minimum we can use, that will be equal to 2b. Consider I am having a signal whose bandwidth or maximum frequency content of signal is 3 kHz. Then the minimum sampling frequency of the signal which is used for the sample should be equal to twice the maximum. So 3 kHz multiplied by 2. So the minimum sampling frequency will be, sampling signal frequency should be 6 kHz. But we are not using exactly, so we are never taking 6 kHz. If I am having a 3 kHz signal, we are never taking 6 kHz. We are always do over sampling. We'll see why we are doing that. So minimum frequency required is 2B, and this frequency is called Nyquist rate, and the corresponding interval, that is the minimum interval, is 1 upon 2B, and that is called Nyquist interval. This sampling theorem is also called as Nyquist sampling theorem because it is founded by Nyquist. That's why the name is given Nyquist rate and Nyquist interval. Now one more thing is this, whether we are able to recover or not this signal, how the reconstruction of signal will take place. So there is process called the reconstruction of signal. That process is called as interpolation method. The process of reconstructing a continuous time signal from its sample is known as interpolation. So we are having a sampled version. Now from the sample version will recreate our signal GT, and that process is called interpolation. So now this will be our sample version of a signal. So sample signal will consist of a GT, and it is multiplied by, at this interval, by SM, this impulse train. So this is our sample signal. Now in order to recover the signal, our information lies only in this is our information, and we are having repeated version of our information. So what we have to do for reconstruction, we have to only recover any one portion of this band. Most probably we will reconstruct this, or will recover only this band. So what we will do is, we will pass this sampled version of the signal through a low pass filter will pass this signal through a low pass filter whose bandwidth will be equal to greater than 2 pi b, or most probably it must be equal to 2 pi b, so that this signal will be completely recovered. So we can see here, in order to reconstruct the signal, we pass our band pass this sampled signal through a low pass filter, and so the response of a low pass filter, we know this will be like this. This is called brick wall response. This is ideal response of a filter, brick wall response, whose bandwidth is from -b to b. So if we are having a low pass filter whose response is like a step signal whose bandwidth is from -b to b, will pass our signal through this low pass filter. Now this is the frequency domain. HF is the response in frequency domain, so it will allow only this frequency to pass, that is -b to b. Now in terms of a time domain, when we will take a inverse Fourier transform of this function, this is our step function, we know that we'll get a sinc function, and vice versa. If this will be in a time domain and we'll take a Fourier series or Fourier transform, then that will be a unit impulse function. And if we are having a unit impulse function, or this will be a step function. So if we are having a pulse like this and we'll take its Fourier transform, then it will be sinc, and if we're having a sinc, then we'll get a, so these two are pair, there is pulse and sinc are pair, both are interchangeable, that is the Fourier transform of a pulse will be sinc function, and the Fourier transform of a sinc function will be a pulse, or vice versa. So these are Fourier transform pair. So what will happen if we are having this is the time domain, or you can say the impulse response of a filter in time domain. So HT, this is HT, and this is in HF. So the impulse response will be 2bts sinc of 2 pi bt, sinc of 2 pi bt. So the Nyquist sampling rate, that will be equal to 2bts. This will be the Nyquist sampling rate, 2bts, and if we take that will be equal to 1, then our response will become, response in time domain will be sinc of 2 pi bt. So it shows that when we pass our signal, that is the sample signal through this kind of a filter, low pass filter whose response is this, it will produce this is our sample signal, that is the impulse train, which is having a various amplitudes. When we pass through this filter, the response will be like this. So at each and every instant where we are having this impulse, you can see here, so we will have a sinc function there. So sinc function, it will be maximum, the sinc function of this particular sample will be maximum at this location, and all other sinc function, whatever the minimum of other functions are, that will be 0 at this location. You can see here there will be only one maximum, all other will be 0 here. So it will have a signal, or we will have an amplitude at this location, and will take summation of all the amplitude, summation of all the sinc function, then we can able to reconstruct our signal. So this will be similar, this can be expressed as a mathematical term as a GT will be summation of the sampled version of signal multiplied by sinc function, and will take summation of all this sinc, and that will reconstruct our signal. This is exactly called as interpolation formula, and the method of reconstruction of sample signal is called interpolation. So in practical, we do not have simply a impulse train. Ideal impulse cannot be possible, because ideal impulse will have a amplitude equal to infinity, and its amplitude is infinity, and its width will be infinitely small. So overall its area will be equal to unity. So ideally this kind of an impulse is not possible, so we are using this kind of a pulse. So this is called practical sampling, and the reconstruction of this kind of signal is called practical reconstruction or practical interpolation of a pulse. Now, so what? So there are some issues in practical reconstruction. What we were assuming is, that our signal is sampled at Nyquist rate. Let us assume that our signal is sampled at exactly Nyquist rate, that is equal to minimum frequency of fs is equal to 2b. Now when it is taken exactly at Nyquist rate, that is fs is equal to 2b, the spacing between the sampled version of the signal, that is in a spectrum, there will be no spacing between two spectrum. So there will be repetition of spectra, but there will be no gap between two successive sample or two successive the spectrum. So without any gap between two successive cycle, what to recover the signal, that is to recover our actual signal from the sample signal. So we are passing this through low pass filter, and we have seen the response should be exactly equal to, it must be equal to the ideal response, that will be brick wall response if we will take exactly at Nyquist rate, so that no other frequency or no other frequency component should be passed through the filter. So we require ideal low pass filter if we will take Nyquist rate is equal to 2b, because there are no gap between successive spectra of a sample. So such a filter is unrealizable. Ideal filter cannot be realizable whose response is like a brick wall response. So this kind of response cannot be practically realizable. So it can be closely approximated only with finite time delay. So this means that we cannot recover the signal GT from its sample with infinite time delay. So ideally we cannot recover the signal, although it is sampled at fs is equal to 2b. It can be recovered if we are having a ideal filter. So the practical solution of this problem is to sample the signal slightly higher than the rate of a Nyquist rate. So Fs must be greater than twice B. So it must be greater than twice the maximum frequency of a signal. So if we'll sample our signal greater than twice the maximum frequency, now what will happen? There will be gap between two successive spectra. So although we do not have an ideal filter, so this is the sample exactly at the Nyquist rate. You can see this is the spectra of sample signal which is sampled exactly at Nyquist rate. So there is no gap between two successive spectra. So we need a ideal low pass filter whose response will be ideal brick wall kind of a response. Now if we take the sample above the Nyquist rate, that is greater than twice the maximum frequency, then we can use non-ideal filter whose response is like this. This is a non-ideal filter, which is, we assume that it will be closely matched to this, but this is not an ideal pulse kind of a response. So now we can use some practical kind of a low pass filter. So if we sampled our signal greater than the Nyquist rate, we can able to recover the signal by passing the signal through a low pass filter, and the condition for this is called Pele-Wiener criteria. So it is impossible to realize even this filter. The problem is we cannot realize this filter, and we can also not realize this filter. The only advantage here is we are having some gap between these two, so we will have a better approximation of this kind of response, and we are able to reconstruct our signal with some distortion. So the recovery of signal is possible, but there always be some distortion. So that will not exactly equal to our actual signal. There will be little distortion because of this limitation of the practical filter. Now there is one more term called aliasing. So we have assumed in the definition of sampling that we are taking band limited signal. I have marked with red color that our signal is band limited signal. So that was our assumption, that the signal is band limited signal. Now whenever anything is band limited, that cannot be, whatever is band limited, that cannot be time limited, and if the signal is time limited, then that cannot be band limited. So this cannot be possible, that if the signal is band limited, then signal must have an infinite time, that the signal cannot be a time limited. Band limited signal cannot be time limited, and the time limited signal cannot be band limited. So there are finite, what we are doing is there are finite duration of width, means our signal is, we are assuming that is band limited, but we are sampling, or whatever the signal we are generating at the lab, that will be present in our laboratory or anywhere, that cannot be time limited. That signal, that cannot be, you can say, all practical signals are time limited, that cannot persist for infinite time, because we can switch off or switch on, it cannot goes. Let us take, I have a function generator which will generate a signal, but that signal cannot be continuously generated for infinite time. So all the practical signals are time limited. So since these signals are time limited, then signal cannot be band limited. Now problem arises here. Since signals are time limited, whatever the signal we are having, information signal or whatever signal, that signals are time limited, so that cannot be band limited. So we can demonstrate that a signal cannot be time limited and a band limited simultaneously. So clearly all the practical signals which are necessarily time limited are non band limited signals. So they must have a finite bandwidth. The signal with time limit, the time limited signal, the spectrum of time limited signal, now it will have a finite bandwidth. So this will be the practical signal. It will have a finite bandwidth. Now because now this is the practical spectrum of our signal GT. Now when we sample this signal, this will repeat itself. We have seen earlier the signal this spectrum will repeat after every omega s. So we can see that this will be equal to, so this is our fs by 2 and this is our fs by 2. So this will be the our instant of this is the instant where so this is our signal will goes up to fs. From fs once again it will start repeating. So this is fs, this is fs is equal to 0, this will be fs is equal to 0. It means we are having a original signal, the spectra of original signal. Then this is first repetition, that is fs, and on the other side this will be minus fs and so on. So signal will have a repetition. Now because the signal is time limited, it cannot be band limited. So band limited signal cannot be possible. So this will goes up to infinity. This spectra will goes up to infinity, and its amplitude will goes on decreasing. So beyond certain limit, this amplitude will be very less. Since this is a non-band limited, this is we have assumed the signal is band limited, but actually it is not. In practice, it is not a band limited signal. It is having a infinite bandwidth. So what will happen because of this? Our spectra, that is the sample signal, it will now overlap because of this non-band limited spectra. The signal will, this low frequency of signal or higher frequency of signal component will now over, this will, you can say this will overlap, and this phenomena is called sampling. This phenomena is called aliasing. Because what does meaning of aliasing? Aliasing is nothing but aliasing means false name. So whatever after that particular band what we want, we are having a folding of frequency. This is also called as folding, because so the sampling at a higher rate reduces but does not eliminate overlapping between repeating spectral cycle. Because of the overlapping of tails, GF, that is the sampled version of a spectra, no longer has a complete information of a GF. This is our GF. Now we are having overlapping of this. Because of this is called as aliasing. This higher frequency component of this spectra will overlap with the lower frequency component of this, and we are having this is also called as spectral folding. We'll see. So we are not able to reconstruct this spectra completely because this is not a band limited, because our signal is time limited. So GF no longer has complete information about the original signal GF, and it is no longer possible even theoretically to recover our information in time domain signal, that is GT, exactly from the sampled signal G bar T, even though if our signal is passed through low pass filter. So there are two causes. One is the loss of information at the tail because of this mixing of the signal at the tail end. This is first, the loss of tail GF beyond Fs is greater than Fs by 2. This is our Fs by 2. So beyond this we are not able to reconstruct the signal. So this frequency, that is Fs by 2, is called folding frequency, where the fold of our spectrum will take place. This you can see, this is the, so this portion belongs to this, the first repeated version of our spectra, and this dark portion, the dark portion belong to this our original signal. So we can see that this shape is exactly equal to this one, but this is folded back to the original signal, but we cannot be able to recover this frequency content, because you can see that this frequency is higher than this frequency. So in our signal, this is our, let us take, it will be our GF. We are having the, although we have assumed that our signal is band limited to B, then also we are having a frequency content beyond the B at our reconstructed signal. So there are two things. One is at the tail end we are having a folding, that is the loss of tail of GF beyond F greater than Fs by 2, and the second one is the reappearance of this tail inverted or folded back to the spectrum that we have seen, and that frequency is Fs by 2, that is called the folding frequency, and this phenomena is also called as the tail inversion. So folded tail distort our signal. So this will be the ideally reconstructed signal. We lost our this higher frequency component and we are having now distorted reconstructed signal at the receiver side, as well as we have lost this higher frequency, and this frequency is folded back, that is folded tail distort our this original signal, and we are having a distorted signal at the reconstructed filter, or reconstructed at the output we are having a distorted signal. So the possible solution of this is, what is happening is, because signal is not a band, this is not a, our signal is time limited, it means it is not band limited signal. So what we'll do is, before doing any analysis, whatever our signal will be, will pass our signal through a low pass filter. The solution of this anti-aliasing is, will pass whatever our information signal will be there, before sampling what we'll do is, we'll pass our signal through a low pass filter. Now this filter will remove or will attenuate all the frequency above its cutoff frequency. So let us take it is cutoff frequency is equal to B, then it will reject or it will attenuate all the frequency beyond B. Now whatever the signal will be, that will be sampled. Now we'll have a exactly beta hertz of a, because we have passed this signal through a ideal or simply a low pass filter whose cutoff frequency is B, then it will pass only the frequency which is having component less than beta. So that particular filter is called anti-aliasing filter. After passing this anti-aliasing filter, we will do sampling and all other thing, so this aliasing problem can be recovered. Now we can see that since there are no component, this component we have already reduced because of the anti-aliasing filter. We have only passed this signal through our this is the spectra of our signal. We are taking only this much portion of the signal. So whatever we have, whatever the signal we have passed through this anti-aliasing filter will get output, and will we are able to recover our signal. So this is very important, anti-aliasing filter. So whenever you will see analog to digital conversion, or simply the continuous time to discrete time signal, the first block will always be low pass filter, which will behave as anti-aliasing filter. So such filter is called anti-aliasing filter. The potential defector are all frequency component beyond. So such suppression of higher frequency can be accomplished by an ideal low pass filter with cutoff frequency Fs. This already we have discussed. This is called anti-aliasing filter. So this is all for today's lecture. We'll see the next term. In next lecture we'll see the rest of the portion of this chapter. Thank you.